What's up, everyone, and welcome. You are watching Well-Rounded Individual. I'm your host, Adam Schindler. Today, I've got another incredible guest for you. It's going to be an absolutely amazing conversation. My guest today is a former Division I football player. He's an entrepreneur. He owns a small business and is born and raised in Las Vegas. I would like everyone to welcome Greg Rogers. Welcome to the show, bro.
Adam, appreciate you having me, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Super happy that you can make it. When I first created this idea of what I wanted for this show, you were one of the first guys that I hit up because you and I have known each other for about a year and a half now, and just watching you work and hearing you talk and following along your journey, man, there's honestly not a whole lot of people I would choose to bring in here before you. So thanks again for being here. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm looking forward to the value that you bring.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me too, man. Like, this is an amazing setup, very professional and stuff too as well. You've always been a professional guy ever since day one I met you and stuff. So I just want to say thank you for having me. Thank you for thinking of me and stuff too as well when it came to this. And I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely. Let's get right into it.
Bro.
First question I always like to ask everybody, with the name of the podcast being Well-Rounded Individual, and you are someone who embodies that, what are some characteristics that you would say or that define what a well-rounded individual is?
I would say a well-rounded individual is really somebody that is very, one, goal-oriented, right? And then also, two, someone that is willing to endure, but then also to have empathy, right? So like what I mean by that is like being able to channel all of those things into one, right? Because it's always not going to be like a smooth sailing, right? You're not going to always be able to just go through life and like not have any like obstacles or anything that's going to come your way. You're not going to go through life and every single person that you have a relationship with is going to be like a 10 out of 10 relationship. You know, some relationships may be good and then they may crash out. Some relationships may crash out and they may be good. And then also too as well, you got to be able to have, with that, you got to be able to have the strength to endure like the hard times while also being able to endure the good times, and then also to falling back onto your goals, right? Like what you set out to do, like the things that, you know, even when things aren't going like all the way 100%, right? Like I could still be able to fall back onto those things and, you know, relay myself and say like, okay, this is what I set out to do and this is what's going to happen. So I would say, honestly, that's what somebody that is like well-rounded is. Some of the characteristics that you got to have, right? Like obviously there's a laundry list of characteristics that may can fall underneath that category, but, you know, just from how I go about carrying my day-to-day things and, you know, the people that I try to surround myself with, those are some of the common traits that I see within them. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that. And just talking about resilience,
mm-hmm.
being resilient, but also I like that you use empathy in there as well, because empathy towards others and empathy towards your environment, but also empathy towards yourself, right? A lot of times, especially high performers, people who push themselves and, work hard, we hold a high standard for ourselves. And there are times whenever maybe we beat ourselves up, and having empathy for yourself and for your situation and for your circumstances at times, I think is also a really great point. I'm glad that you brought that up because no one's ever brought that up before.
Yeah. And I appreciate you expanding on that a little bit more, because I didn't really dive deep into like why I was saying that, but it's like piggybacking off into like the instance of having empathy, right? Like you got to be able to like understand that like you're not going to be all the way where you want to be all the time, right? Like you're not going to be able to have all the answers and stuff and so forth. And you got to be able to be empathetic with yourself about those things, right? Because if you're just pushing, then that's when you're going to burn out, right? Same thing when it comes to like trying to figure out, like when I talk about relationships, right? Like trying to figure out like why, you know, some things may not be the way that they are anymore, like why things may shape out. And I think just overall as human beings, we need to be able to be empathetic with ourselves as well as being empathetic with each other. So I think that's important, and I appreciate you, you know, just piggybacking off of that too,
Yeah, absolutely,
bro.
man.
Yeah.
I saw a meme earlier today, actually, and I didn't even think twice about it, like even it correlating to this conversation, but it said a great life isn't going to have 100% great days, right? So you've got to be able to show up, whether it's great or whether it's not, because you and I both know they're not all great.
Right? No, absolutely not. There's no such thing, bro. That'd be an interesting life if everything was just perfect and you didn't have to worry about nothing else. And, you know, no obstacles at all. But nah, it's not the case at all.
In a perfect world. So let's kind of get into some what made Greg what Greg is, right?
Okay.
So
let's do it, man.
You born and raised in Las Vegas,
Yes,
grew
sir.
up. Tell us about that, like growing up, like with sports. You know, how was your childhood here, and like through your high school years where you became like the athlete and man.
Yeah. So Vegas is a very interesting place. I'll say, like, I've gotten the opportunity with football to be able to travel to a lot of places, and see a lot of things and stuff. And Vegas is a very interesting place. And I say that because it's a big city, but also a very small city too. At the same time, right? I find myself seeing a lot of the people that I seen when I was younger, still on a day-to-day basis and so forth from there. So it's nice in the sense of that you can build community out here, right? And a lot of people don't know that there's like suburban areas of Las Vegas. Everybody just thinks it's just a strip and so forth from there. So it was always a fun time, going out and explaining to people about those things and like, oh, you live in Vegas? How you from Vegas and stuff? And then also too, like, it's crazy, man, because it's not that many locals like that are like out here anymore. So like you'll have a conversation with somebody now in my adult life, and they're like, oh, you're from Vegas? Like, I can't believe you're from Vegas, right? Because everybody's coming out here now and stuff with the Raiders and all these sports teams and stuff and all these different attractions and stuff. So it's an interesting place, but it's a dope place at the same time, man. Growing up for me, so I'm the oldest of 5. My mom, single mom, she raised me and my little brother by herself for the longest. And then she met my stepfather when we were in 7th grade. And then so he came into my life with my 2 stepfather, but as my father, he stepped into my life and took care of me. So he brought 2 kids with him, and then those are my brothers and stuff. And then him and my mom had a kid together,
Cool.
my little sister. So blended family and stuff. Sports, football wise, man, like that was in my life since I was 6 years old. Funny thing is, I didn't like football. I didn't start liking football, man, until like my 8th grade like year of like playing football. I just knew that like everybody always wanted me on their team because I was big. I knew I had kind of like an aggressive, mean streak to me. Like I would always like try to like go make plays and be dominant and stuff like that. So like that was always like my thing. So I remember like when I was younger, like people would be like, oh, that kid is not like in this grade and stuff. We need to see his birth certificate and stuff. So my mom would always have a good time with that, right? Like trying to like prove that I'm actually the age that I'm supposed to be, even though I was playing up in age groups and stuff. So that was always like, a thing. But like I said, man, like for me, I didn't really start grasping onto football until it was like in 8th grade, right? Growing up into a single parent household, like a lot of different, trying to balance like different emotions from like my pops not really being there. My pops is in my life now, but like my pops not really being there, like, from certain periods of time within my life, right? Like, and like, trying to, have that like father figure in my life, which was really important. And like, as time went on, I was able to grasp one of the mentors. My stepdad stepped into my life and so forth from there. But like, I was always in trouble, man, when I was younger. Like I was always like grade school, like middle school. Elementary school to middle school. Like I was always in trouble, like I bounced from like different middle schools, elementary schools, always in fights and stuff like that. And like just trying to find ways to express that gap that like was missing in my life, right? And I do feel like football was that outlet, like for me. And when I say I didn't necessarily like the game of football, it was more so like I didn't like being in the heat, right? I didn't like being out there like some days like I didn't like having practice at 6 p.m. after school and stuff. I'd rather have been on the game and been outside playing with my friends and so forth from there. But like from a standpoint of that being a positive outlet for me, which is something that I knew was needed. And I think my mom knew that too as well, which is why she put me in so early. It was very beneficial. So went in, played football pretty much all of my life, obviously. And then I got the opportunity. I received my first scholarship football offer like when I was a freshman in high school from the University of Utah. So that's when I knew like, okay, this is a little bit serious, right? And I will never forget this. Coach Devin Conway, he was my youth football coach for the Buccaneers. And the Buccaneers has tons of kids that have come out of that program. I remember I had got the defensive MVP award for our fall season. But the Buccaneers, we only ever used to play in the fall. And we got the defensive MVP award for our fall season. And before he called me onto like the stage, we would always have these big banquets and stuff, man. Like all the teams and stuff, they did it up for us. It was real dope. He was like, if this kid can like just stay out of trouble, like not always be finding some way to like not be into something, like he can really do something special with his life. I'll never forget it. Then he called me up and gave me the defensive MVP award. And I knew when I got that offer my freshman year, I'll never forget it. I was on the phone with coach, and once I got off the phone, I was sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, man, like I can go somewhere with this. Like I can do something with this. And from there, man, like I clinged on to football because that was like my, I'm gonna get out of here. Like I'm gonna get out of like Vegas. Like I'm gonna go to the league. I'm gonna do my thing and stuff. And like I just clinged on to it, man. And then I just was, fortunate to be able to get a scholarship offer to play college football, and then taking it from there. So it's it was a journey for sure, but it's worthwhile.
Man, I love that story.
Yeah.
And through that whole process,
Mm-hmm.
I think of what you just said, what I took out of that, the most impactful thing that I took out of that was that your mom knew you needed an outlet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she directed you.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you didn't want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
you had to do it, right? Man, parents are smart.
They know a little bit more than what we do sometimes.
Yeah, they do, right? It's like, hey, we've been there, we've done that. We're doing this for a reason because it's good for you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So like having an offer as a freshman, so that must have really boosted your confidence through high school as well.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of high school, you probably had offers to go to like wherever you wanted, pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you ended up choosing UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
So take me through that process. Why did you choose UCLA? And was that a difficult decision for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so man, like to answer your question, when it was all said and done, if I'm not mistaken, I had anywhere between like 28 to 30 offers, like for just like football wise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from a confidence standpoint, being someone that once I finished up my freshman season, I played varsity as a freshman. I didn't play as much like as I would have liked. I probably, if we were on the snap count, I was probably playing anywhere between like 10 to 15 snaps a game. And looking back on it, it was a good opportunity for me to learn, and also too as well to build my confidence. Like as I mentioned, I had a lot of mentors when I was coming up, and a lot of coaches that like seen stuff in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself. So like being able to have like a staff that I was at Centennial High School for my first 3 years of high school, being able to have a staff that was like, okay, we're going to put this kid on varsity to be able to just give him that confidence to be able to step on the field against older athletes and stuff and so forth. It allowed for me to be able to go into like camps and stuff. I did a lot of off-season camps, and after my first camp is when I got my first offer. It gave me that confidence to be able to know that like, okay, I can compete against anybody, right? Like I can go against anybody. I had the opportunity to go to the University of Alabama and play in a camp after my freshman year of football too as well. So just being able to build up that confidence and say like, okay, I can go against anybody that I play against on any given day and so forth from there, right? So the process, of it was, I would say after I got the first one, it was pretty smooth sailing, right? It was just really up to me to, stay out of trouble, one, right? And then also to maintain my grades, right? Like academically, before going into high school, I wasn't the best student, right? But then like as I realized that like, okay, this can really go somewhere, and like I had to pair the fact of I need to have good grades, I need to stay out of trouble to be able to get to where I want to go to. It became an importance. It became a priority. Like I would take the extra time to ask teachers for help, stay after school if I needed to, get tutoring and so forth from there, right? So it allowed for me to be able to make the rest of the process smooth sailing. Like I got offers, like it was easy for the visits and stuff like that. And like schools were interested in me and stuff. It's just real big. And it's a real big, with it is a real big like politics game.
Right.
Everybody's talking to you. Everybody wants you at the school. Everybody wants you to come to a visit. You don't know what school is the best and so forth from there. So like when it came to picking UCLA, it wasn't a hard decision for me. Because that's who I had the best relationship with. Like I knew that, okay, Angus McClure, who was a defensive line coach at the time, I knew that he was, when it came time for me to try to get to the NFL, he was going to give me the best shot possible to be able to get there. So UCLA was my fourth offer too. So they had been there pretty much from the beginning of time. I had got that offer after my sophomore season, or actually going into my sophomore season. And they were able to like just continue to maintain that relationship during that duration of time, man. So they were there my freshman year. Too as well, and then we ended up switching coaching staffs after that. But the process was pretty much smooth sailing because I had built a relationship, as with anything is about building relationships with people, maintaining those relationships, and built a relationship with them, and the rest was history from there, man. So I don't like regret going to UCLA. I don't regret like not choosing any other school or anything like that, because I pretty much had them in like the count pretty much all the way. When it was all said and done, I had UCLA, I had my top five as UCLA, USC, Colorado, Arizona State. in Oklahoma, and it was a fun process. One thing I will say is I wish I would have took all 5 of my visits, but I only took 3 of them. Once I had went to UCLA, I was like, all right, cool. This is where I'm gonna
we
go.
already
Yeah,
know.
but it would have been cool just to have some more fun and go like the other 2 visits and stuff. But
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it is what it is.
For sure.
So yeah,
For sure. And you really like expanded on something that you were talking about that I was going to touch on too, is building relationships, right? And that's, like you said, what it's all about is UCLA was from the start. You knew them, you trusted them. That's what got it. And we can translate that to our business too, right?
Absolutely.
These businesses that we're running today with our clientele and how we're helping them, building that relationship, creating a high-end product rather than putting someone through a workout.
Absolutely.
And I'm kind of jumping a few steps here, but just correlating. So that's awesome, man. And so obviously you went to UCLA.
Yeah.
And you started. How did that end? Because I'm not even sure about that. I know were the leg breaks part of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Can tell us about that?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
That's the way you've been able to come back from that is it's nothing short of incredible.
Yeah. So I was born with every kid has like a bow-leggedness to them, what they call like it's just bow-legged. A lot of people know it as bow-leggedness to like the curves of like the legs and so forth from there, right? A lot of kids like grow out of it, which I did, but around like 5th grade, 6th grade, I ended up getting diagnosed with a disease called Blount's disease. And Blount's disease is what makes your legs like rebow after like the fact of us growing out of our bow-leggedness when we were a kid, right? And Blount's disease comes from just like lack of vitamin D, and then not being able to get like a sufficient amount of it. So I was a bit overweight when I was younger too as well. And like with putting that pressure on like my knees and stuff and so forth, and I can share a picture with you too as well as you probably put on a video or such, but it caused my legs to go like severely bow. So from 5th grade, no, my first surgery was in 6th grade. From 6th grade all the way up until I was 22 years old, I was getting surgeries on my legs. So that whole time, like I'm going through like the football stuff and everything like that, like I had been getting like procedures on my legs up until like my big one when I had, which is the reason why I left UCLA. That was like my last procedure that I got onto my legs, but I was dealing with Blount's disease like pretty much the majority of like my like teen years and so forth from there. So at first it was just like little mini procedures. They put like growth plates into my legs and they hoped that as I grew that my legs would straighten out. But that never happened. That process went on from 6th grade all the way up until like my sophomore year. And it just never took place. I didn't end up growing enough to the point to where like my legs were like straighten out. So that's kind of like a very like minor procedure in the grand scheme of like what I ended up getting, which caused me to leave UCLA. So, and after my freshman year, I played my true freshman year and stuff too as well. Got a lot of burn and stuff like during that time frame. I would have loved to stay at UCLA like all 4 years, right? Like, and being able to just go through that experience because that's where I committed to go to school at. That's where I seen myself for the next 4 to 5 years. We ended up switching out coaching staffs, and from the spring ball, I was playing in the spring ball, and like I started feeling like a little bit of irritation in my right knee, like meniscus area and such. And so we're going through like the process and stuff. We're trying to figure out like, okay, like what's going on. Like I'm going to the team doctors and so forth from there. At that time, like I had still had to maintain a relationship from the doctor, Dr. Thomas, who is one of my mentors today, too as well. Still maintain a relationship with
From the
him.
time you were a
Like,
kid?
yeah, like from the time I was a kid, because he was the one that was doing all of my orthopedic surgeries. So he had told me about when I was younger that like when we first initially talked about like my legs and kind of where I was at, like with the Blount's disease, about the procedure of me like breaking my tibia, my fibula, and like making a incision into my ankle too as well to be able to put external fixators on my legs. And then as the days like went on, like you would make adjustments and stuff like that. And if you aren't familiar with the external fixator, it's like a big like brace that they put on like the outside of your legs that have different wires and stuff like that coming on. If you're like seeing
Like on
Aaron,
the outside,
yeah, exactly, like that little
the
like
neck one when you break your neck.
halo type of thing that
Yeah,
they put
yeah.
around your neck. Yeah, exactly. So he had told me about that, and like we had always known like, okay, like kind of since we didn't see much progress from like what I had initially was getting done, that I would probably need this at some point in time. Like I don't know when, but like we're just gonna max out this football stuff until until ever it takes place, right? So just from wear and tear of like the bow-leggedness, it was causing the interior portion of my knee because like your level of competition is like significantly higher when you're in college, right? Compared to high school, like the wear and tear that you're putting on your body, like more workouts and stuff, more strength training and so forth from there, like that just all upped for me. And I don't think my body adapted to it good enough for myself when I got to college. So we go through the process and they like, okay, we don't really know, like we just seeing the meniscus tear, but like we don't really necessarily know what's going on. So I decided, like, we were getting ready to go on break. I'm like, all right, you know what, cool. I'm gonna just get a second opinion from my doctor that was doing my orthopedic surgeries. And come to find out, he's like, okay, like, yeah, like I'm seeing the meniscus like issue too as well. And like the meniscus issue is coming from the wear and tear of like the bow-leggedness that you've had like in your body over the course of years, and you just trying to maintain this. So he decided to refer me out to a different doctor. And like, this is why I think it's so important, and we can get into this too as well. Like, I think it's so important that admitting that like we don't know it all, right? Like when I talked about being empathetic with yourself and stuff like that, like we don't know it all, because he took it upon himself to say like, okay, like I don't, like, this is kind of like above my level. Like I know obviously what this is, but like I'm going to refer you out to a doctor that works out of California named Scott Nelson. He worked out of Loma Linda. He like sees this on a day-to-day basis. Like this is what he does. So fast forward, they decide that it'll probably be, in order for me to stop this issue with my knee, and if I want to continue to keep playing football, I need to get the procedure done to get my tibia broken, get my fibula broken, put the external fixators on, and so forth from there. So I go back to school, and I'm like talking with, at this point in time, our coaching staff has switched to Chip Kelly, like of the Oregon Ducks and so forth from there. Like Vince Ogabasi, like a bunch of different coaches and stuff that Chip has brought in. Like they've completely just got rid of like the whole like clean sweep, right? So and I'm coming in there and I'm like, okay, this is what's going on, right? Like this is what the issue that I'm having with my legs. Like I'm trying to, you know, work this through with you guys. Like I would love to be here and stuff too as well, but like I think that this is like a good idea for me to get this procedure done if I want to continue to keep playing football.
Right.
Their doctors weren't really on board with it. They were more so like, okay, you should just do the quick fix, which would be you being able to like just get your meniscus done and so forth. And like, we kind of just like put a Band-Aid on it and then we'll see like what happens from there. My thought process was like, I'm not thinking just like right now in this moment. I'm thinking like 20, 30 years from now. And especially if I want to be able to like have an NFL career, be able to get somewhere with this, like, I think I need to do this now so that I'm not like trying to just put a Band-Aid on it and like be able to at least last and give myself a chance to be able to get to where I want to get to.
Right. You're playing the long game.
Exactly. So we go back and forth about it. Come to find out, man, you know, and this is like, I know there's like been a lot of like, and this is on a podcast. I know there's been like a lot of different like podcasts out nowadays about Chip Kelly. Like, and I don't have like any like hard feelings towards him and stuff like that. Like, you know, I've seen like Deshaun Jackson them have their things about him and say like, you know, how they don't like him and stuff like that. But, you know, it's all respect to him. But I do think that he could have handled the situation a little bit better. But again, like I would tell any young man that's coming up that plays sports, any young woman that's coming up that plays sports, is that college sports is a very political game. And like, if you can't do anything for the university, then they would just get rid of you and put the next person in there. So come to find out, like, I learned from an athletic advisor that is there that Chip Kelly was like asking if he could use my scholarship like while I was gone, like to give it to somebody else if I decided to get the procedure done. Like UCLA told me, this training staff, the coaching staff and so forth, like told me that I wouldn't be able to do any like any recovery like things like while I was there. Like everything that if I was to get this procedure done, it would have to all be done like on your own.
On
like
you.
Yeah, like it's on you. Like so. If you get it done, like,
yeah,
you're on your own. Like you just figure it out. So like they wouldn't allow for me to enroll into any classes or anything like that either. So like it was kind of just like my hands were tied.
Because they wanted to use the money they were using on you for someone else.
Exactly, yeah. So like they wouldn't allow for me to roll into any class. Like even if I wanted to just do like remote classes or anything, like they wouldn't allow for me to do anything that is remote based or nothing. So when we found this out through an athletic advisor that was there at the time, she ended up transferring schools. But she told my mom this stuff because I think she just felt it like was inclined to tell her, because she was like leaving literally like a week after that. Like we didn't even know any of this stuff. I think she just was inclined to tell her like, you know, this is kind of what's going on. Like I just want to put this on your guys' radar. Like, and at that time I'm looking at it like, well, I don't want to, I don't want to, and I can't, it doesn't really seem like I can be here. So me being, you know, me, I just was kind of like, okay, well, I sat down with Chip. I told him like, this is what's going on and stuff. He kind of just looked at me and he was like, well, we didn't say any of that. We didn't do any of that and this and that. And I'm like, well, so what is the solution? And then like, he just reiterated everything that I said. Like he said that he didn't say it, but then he said all that while we were sitting down face to face, like you and I are sitting down.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, dude, you know what? Like,
which one is it?
Yeah, I'm just gonna take I told him I was like, I'm just gonna take I'm gonna be transferring. I'm gonna try to figure it out on my own, and then left from there. So, I thought that my mind frame was that I was going to be able to get into like one of those big schools again, like how like that was already recruiting me. And that was the mind frame that I had leaving UCLA. I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna take a bet on myself, take a gamble on myself. I know myself. I can get back and get my recovery going. And it didn't happen like that. Like none of the schools wanted to take on like
that kind of risk.
Yeah, they didn't want to take on the risk, right? So like it was kind of like, okay, I still went through with the procedure. And dude, something is just like, I don't know, man. Like looking back on it, something just like told me like that it was just the right thing to do. Like, I would say like, I'm a big believer in God. So like, I believe that like God was like speaking to me in that sense, like being able to like, even before making that decision, like I had kind of sat down and prayed on it and stuff too as well. But like something for what I was getting ready to endure, I could have never seen that. Right. Like I couldn't have seen how long it would have got strung out. I couldn't see like the pain that I wouldn't feel, bro. I wasn't walking I didn't walk for 7 months, bro. Like, I got the surgery done. I got my first leg done in August, and then I got my second leg done in September.
They did them not at the same time.
They did them not at the same time. And the crazy part about it is they went in, broke the tibia, broke the fibula, and one leg is done. Then I drove back home to Vegas, and then I had to go back in September and get the other leg done. So I'm driving back and forth, commuting and stuff too as well. I ended up getting a pulmonary embolism from this surgery too as well, dude. Like, cause I wasn't moving. Like I literally would just get up, stand up, sit back down, stand up, sit back down. Like I literally could not walk. So I had to teach myself how to walk again. Like had to go through rehab, had to teach myself how to move again, like being able to even play football. Like, and fast forward, DeMario Warren, at Southern Utah, like he was the coach that gave me a chance. Like Coach Warren knew me from camps, because like my high school used to go up there and go camp and stuff at the university. So he knew me from the camps and stuff. And then like my head coach, Dan Barneson, he was now at Somerset, Losi out here in Las Vegas. He was like, okay, like I got this kid, like Greg, like I'm sure you probably remember him and so forth from there. Like he's trying to get into school. Because that was my biggest thing, man. When I had got the procedure done, like none of the schools was getting back to me. I'm like, dude, I need to get back into school. Like I'm not trying to pay for school. So like I'm trying to get back into school. However, whenever, like who can like, help me out on this. So, man, he ended up giving me a shot, man. And like, I think that, for me, Southern Utah was a big culture shock. Coming from Vegas and then being at UCLA, like I never in a million years thought I would have played at Southern Utah, like just being who I was, like, and stuff, man. But like, I would say like, Southern Utah really made me a man, like, and like, it really made me mature into realizing that like, one, there's so much more than football. Like my whole procedure, like made me like realize there was so much more than whole football, but Southern Utah really doubled down on it. And then also too, as well, like it just taught me that like, from what I was experiencing up there, and then also too, as well, experiencing like just from like the procedure and what I was coming back from, like the recovery process and stuff. It just taught me the importance of like staying true to like yourself and continuing to believe in yourself, right? Continuing to like just persevere and like do the things that like do the little daily tasks on a day-to-day basis to get to where you want to get to. But I mean, yeah, man, that's really what like was happening. And like a lot of people, it's crazy because like it's refreshing to be able to share with you and stuff. And then like also too, like a lot of people don't really know like my situation and like kind of like how like the people that are like close to me, I've shared it on Instagram a couple of times and stuff, but being able to like break it down and like talk about it and stuff so people can kind of get a deal about it, because like a lot of people don't know about like what I was dealing with and stuff too as well. And like I just, I'm just happy that I'm here doing what I'm doing now, man, because all of it is a blessing, man. Like, it's just I literally almost lost my life like over like trying to make something happen. And like, I mean, if it wasn't for my mom, like I keep talking about my mom, but my mom definitely like she was there during that process. And like, if she wasn't the one that told me like, let's go to that doctor's office and stuff, when I had like the pulmonary embolism, dude, I could have like, I would have been dead like right there in my house, because it was literally sitting right in my lungs. And like, it's crazy, bro. Like it's crazy stuff.
You know what's wild too is that like I'm really happy that you were able to explain to me, because I didn't know all the details to that.
Yeah.
But like just like a 90-second like reel, right, where you like put in the pictures of you like before and then with the leg braces on, and then after, and people see you now just like being an absolute machine and like running and stuff like that. They're like, oh, that must have been hard. But they don't really know like the depths of difficulty that you had to endure until you like really think about this, and it was spread, you know, over a long time. This wasn't a quick fix, you know. So that, and going back as well, like to the decision to make that decision, not only, I think it took a high level of awareness on your doctor that you've had a relationship your whole life to be able to pass the ball. And then I think probably the most impressive thing to me about the whole story is the fact that you basically didn't let UCLA dictate what you were going to do.
Absolutely.
You had enough self-awareness, enough value within yourself to say, just because you're UCLA doesn't mean that you get to dictate what happens in my life.
Correct. Yeah.
And that to me shows just like such like strength and like confidence within yourself. So, I mean, the whole story is incredible, but those were a couple like big takeaways that I took, and just the ego, the lack of the ego that you had to have to be able to not be at UCLA anymore and change and have that long-term mindset. You know, I talk about this all the time, you know, is that like playing the long game and having that mindset is, how old were you at the time? 19, 20?
Man, that time I was going through that, it's 18 all the way up until like 20. Yeah. 18 to 20. And then it ceased in like 2019 because I was back playing football and stuff. But then even being done playing football, coming back to Vegas is like a whole can of worms too as well. Right. So that's a level of awareness for an 18 or 19-year-old to be able to make that decision. That, I mean, shout out to God, right? Shout out to God, bro. And like, it's just like mentally, it's something that isn't really talked about a lot, is especially for athletes, like, because I'm not the only athlete that has dealt with like something that's similar to it, right? Like, and you know, my story is just, you know, my story, right? But there's athletes that have similar stories that like they can relate to about this, and like just people in general. And like, I don't think this is only so much just an athletic based story. I think it is just like a life story. But like when we shifted over to the athletic side, like, you know, mentally and like physically, like, that was a hard battle for me, right? Because like I said, I grew up in a single parent household, right? So like I didn't really know how to like express certain things. Like my mom did the best that she could with like the resources that she had, right? And like being able to, it wasn't until I got into my adult life where I learned the importance of like therapy, bro, and like talking things through and like having conversations with people and like doing like, you know, being able to have a relationship, like being in a relationship with my girlfriend now, like being able to go through these different things. Because like, dude, there was like a while where I didn't really know how to express or what I was feeling. Like, I'm like, all I knew was like ball. Like all I knew was like, man, I need to like, I can't just be out here back in like the streets doing anything that I'm not supposed to be doing and stuff like that. So like, it's more so like, I'm just thankful for like being able to like, even, I don't know, man. Like I said, I always have like, and I think it's just God that's always driving me and stuff. Like always like, you know, instilling things in me. And I do surround myself with great people too, as well. And like, you know, I think it's one thing to surround yourself with great people, but it's another thing to like, at the end of the day, you got to do the work. Like you have to do the work. Nobody else can do the work for you. And I think that like, I just have always had like the will, like whether, regardless of whether like stuff is feeling like it's not going to work out all the way, or like whether stuff is feeling like it is going to work out all the way. Like, you know, it's just having the will to be able to just continue to keep doing things and doing the things that you say you're going to do, because every day is not going to be perfect. Some days you might have plateaus where it's just like, man, I don't feel like doing nothing for like a week or two, but like, don't let that week or two turn into 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks and so forth. Right. Like, you know, you got to reset and stuff. So I'm just thankful for it all, man. Like I said, like, it's just a lot of mental and like physical things that like I had to deal with, and like mentally, like it took a toll on me and stuff. And like I said, even coming back when I got done playing ball, like even coming back to Vegas, like I was kind of like, man,
What
like
now?
yeah. I'm kind of like, man, like is everybody gonna be looking at me like he's a bust? Like he's gonna be like, what is he doing? Like, bro, I was working a security job when I came back home. Like I was a college graduate. I was working a security job, and I would say like, if it wasn't for my girlfriend, like, man, like cause it's crazy. I was working a security job, and I did not have like, I had kind of lost all my confidence, bro. Like after like the football stuff was done, like I came home and I'm like, bro, I don't know. Like I'm kind of like, I don't think I'm supposed to be like back home. Like I was like very like depressed and stuff too as well. Like trying to just figure out like what was I gonna do. And then like I met her, and like with her being such a like just a driven person, like and her like doing her thing, like being in school, being in a master's program, like being a nurse and stuff like that, and then like still chasing her being a nurse practitioner and stuff, like her just like continuing like to believe in me and like seeing something in me, like allowed for me to be like where I am like today, right? And like I don't think that people understand like I'll talk about my girlfriends like people and stuff, and like people don't understand like how much of a pivotal role she played into my life because, dude, I was doing security. I was supposed to get into law enforcement. I ended up getting disqualified from law enforcement because I have a color deficiency in my eyes. But I've always knew I struggled with certain colors, Adam. Like I got like, dude, since I was a kid, I always struggled with like certain colors, but it was never diagnosed.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm like on the last week before getting to the academy, I've literally passed everything. Like I'm supposed to be getting ready to be a police officer, and I get disqualified from the thing because like I can't read. They like asked me to read these numbers on this paper, and I'm like, dude, I can't see. What numbers are you guys talking about? I can't see the numbers. Come to find out, like
They were colored?
Yeah, they're like the color little like dots and stuff, and they're all in color. So they disqualified me from police department, and I'm like, okay, so what am I gonna do now? Like, and then like I start working at I will start working at Penske doing like sales representative stuff over there, like counter type work, and I'm doing that, and I'm like, dude, this is not like I cannot do this for the rest of my life. Like this is not gonna help. I need something more meaningful. I need something to be more impactful. I need to be able to inspire and share my story with people and like do these things. And man, like she gave me that extra push to be able to get there. So like from a guy that's coming back home after especially dealing with everything that I dealt with like in those past 4 or 5 years, coming back home, and now I'm dealing with a whole new can of worms and moving into manhood, like she really bridged that gap for me to be able to be like, okay, let me like get going. Let me give me that push and stuff. And it's just been like, man, like I said, I'm blessed, bro. Like I don't have it all figured out, bro, but like I'm still like, I'm just blessed and thankful that they be even that I'm like even here. Like
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, shout out to her.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, just you're dealing with multiple levels of disappointment, letdown. I was about to ask you, like, how'd you do it? But then you answered it before I asked the question. And, you're looking to reinvent yourself into a cop. And then that happens. And then, many times, like, people can be resilient, right? They can be resilient. They can get knocked down, and they get up again. And then they can get knocked down again, and they get up again. But when you keep getting repeatedly knocked down, sometimes, like, it takes a lot to get back up. What were you thinking? Like, I know that you had outside support, but like inside your own head, did you always believe that you were going to make it? Like you were going to figure it out?
This is a great question, bro. And you see on social media all the time, like people are like, I just have unwavering faith. Like I always believe that like I can do like whatever like it is and stuff like that. And I think it's very like, it's not true, dude. Like it's not true. Like I don't think that like people, if you're just going through like your life, like thinking that like, okay, you're just going to be like, you're just going to always have that belief. Like it's not true, right? You're going to have like, as with anything, as with the fitness journey, as with running, as with like eating clean sometimes and, so forth from there. And like, this is stuff that I tell my clients. And I think that this is, why that like my clients do have the success that they have is because like, you're not always going to believe that, things are going to work out into like your favor, right? Like you're not have those doubts. Like it's normal to have those doubts. The biggest discrepancy between the people that are having the doubts and like the ones that claim that they're not having the doubts are like the ones that like, I feel like relish in the doubts. So like if you're having a doubt, if I say like, okay, I'm going to come on this podcast and I'm going to completely like, excuse my language, but like shit the bed, right? Like And then like I start coming in here and I believe I'm thinking you guys are looking at me differently or stuff like that, whatever the case may be. Like I'm going to not perform well on the podcast. But like if I come in with the mind frame like, okay, the podcast I may be a little nervous on the podcast, but you know what? Like I'm actually gonna do great. Like I'm actually going to like step into this and stuff like that. And I'm gonna like have a good time and stuff like that. You're gonna have a good time. I think it's about like realizing that like you're not gonna always like you're gonna have doubts on your journey and stuff like that, but you got to do your best to be able to eliminate those doubts, right? And like belief doesn't necessarily mean that like it's true, right? Like you may be telling yourself, you may be like, okay, I don't know, I'm gonna jump off a cliff and I don't know how to swim, but I'm gonna survive, right? Like you may not necessarily like know that you're gonna survive, but if you believe that you're gonna survive, at least you give yourself a fighting chance that you're going to survive, right? So like, I didn't necessarily always like, I have my doubts, right? Like I have my like, okay, like I don't know, you know, and stuff like that. But like the difference I think that separates me from like another person, like I don't relish in doubts. Like I don't sit there and like, I don't wear my doubts on my sleeve, right? Like I say like, I make note of my doubts. Like I'm very much so aware of them, but like I know what I want to do. And that goes back into what I initially talked about when you asked me like, okay, what is a well-rounded individual? Like, what are my goals? What have I put down on a piece of paper? What are the things that I set out to, that I said I'm going to do? And how far am I from like my goals? Here's where I am. Here's my goals. Here's where I am. And like, what's the gap in between those things? And then the doubts, like you start to hear the doubts. You're always going to hear the voices. And it's just like, nah, well, that's not true. Like, I'm not living there. Like, I'm not living in that space. I'm not going to create that space for myself.
You know, I think a big reason why you overcome that type of thing is because we all do have doubts. And the difference between those who have doubts and succeed and those who have doubts and sit in it is that you're a man of action, right? You talked about goals there, and you even like held up like a physical thing, right? So you're visibly looking at a place that you are and a place that you want to be, right? And then how am I going to get there? And by taking action, right? So I truly believe that. I truly believe that the power of the mind and the power of belief is first and foremost. Because if you don't believe you can be there, then you're not going to be there.
Not gonna happen, yeah.
However, there's also delusion, right? So if you believe that you can do something and you're not taking any type of steps towards it, then there's, you know, whether it be big or small, it's going to be impossible to get there. It's the action, that taking the action day in and day out, and knowing that it's not a quick fix, that we're going to have to take steps every day. And I think really just getting to the point where, and you can answer me this here in a sec, but getting to the point where you're enjoying the stuff that used to suck, right? You're enjoying the little mundane things, the process, if you will, rather than looking at the end result. Would you agree with that? Do you think that, and do you now enjoy, you seem like you enjoy the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's all about the process. Like I didn't used to know how to sum it into words like that, right? Like it wasn't until like me going to like therapy and talking through like and stuff and like with my therapist, and it is the process. It's not about like looking at the end result, right? Because like for so long, I thought I was gonna be an NFL football player, right? Like I thought that was what I was going to be doing, right? But if I just say, oh, okay, well I didn't make it to the NFL, so screw every single thing that happened to me. Like I learned absolutely nothing about like myself and who I am today, right? So like it allows for me to be able to. The process allows for me to be able to grow with myself, learn about myself, be empathetic with myself, and be able to use the lessons that like may not have turned out to like what I wanted them to be, but they allow for me to be able to be who I want to be and continue to be and grow to be on a day-to-day basis, right? So
create things you never thought were possible before.
Exactly, bro. So I think that the process is super important, right? If you ignore the process and you just like go through it and just like, okay, I'm so worried about the end result, like you're gonna like not get anything out of it.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so valuable about you in your business as well to your clients, is because they've seen, you know, whether it's a new client that you just meet that or someone who's seen your journey, right? You do the work. You lead by example. and with positivity, and you empower people and you make them think that they can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, but you provide an outline. You've provided an outline. You're a living outline, a walking outline. So that's something as well that I think works well for you, is putting in the work. Because I'm always a person that I'm like, you have to lead it by example.
Yeah.
You have to lead by example. You have to lead by example. And I'm trying to always express that to others. But I like to watch your story and watch what you're doing every day, because there are times whenever I'm staring at my shoes and I don't want to do it.
Same way.
But I see you out there putting in work in 110-degree heat, and I'm like, all right, there we go. That's what's up.
Yeah, I would agree, bro. Like you said, like for me, that's one of the big messages that I preach to like my clients and stuff. And I think you mentioned it earlier, right? Like where doing what we do, it's not only about just providing a workout, right? It's not only about just like, okay, here's the workout, here's what you need to do and stuff to like get to where you want to get to, right? It's so much more than that, because if a person wants a workout, they can just go on anyone's Instagram page and just find a workout. Like there's people that probably come to my Instagram page and just see workouts, and then like they've never worked with me before ever, right? The biggest thing I find is that like we're trying to create within my company, Get Ready Fitness, we're trying to create like lifestyle and mindset changes, right? Because the lifestyle and mindset change is going to allow for you to be able to stay consistent with the workouts, stay consistent with the nutrition. When you fall off, like this is what we need to do. When you find yourself super like, okay, everything's going great, this is what you need to do. Like to be able to continue to maintain or get yourself back to where you need to get to, right? So I'm real big on the mental side of things, like when it comes to my business, because I've been there before, right? Like working out has been a part of my life. Fitness has been a part of my life since I was, a kid, right? Like, and being able to have to go to the gym and being able to maintain physique and, all these different types of things, just, health, right? But it's so much more like when it comes to being able to try to help people out and change the way that like we perceive the gym or perceive the workouts and perceive life and conversations that we're having with people. I sometimes like I find myself having like deep conversations with my clients and stuff about like things that are going on a day-to-day basis, and like with things that, areas where they may feel like, okay, man, like I'm struggling in this area and stuff like that, and being able to relate to them. Because like I tell my clients, like it was funny, one of my clients told me last night, because he's not a social media guy, but he has like TikTok, but he's like one of those TikTok guys that like really follows like 5,000 people, but like only like does 0 followers. Like he just doesn't really use social media, right? So it was funny because he found my TikTok. Like we didn't meet through social media. He found my TikTok and he was like, yeah, man, I see you do. He's like, I see you do stuff that you tell us to do. He's like, I thought you were just giving me a bunch of BS workouts and just telling me just do whatever. And I'm like, nah, bro. Like I told you, like I do everything that you guys like do, right? Like I put the work in and stuff. And like that was real dope for me because like he's one of my like, I really enjoy working with him, and I appreciate the relationships that I get through social media and stuff with my clients, but I really appreciate the word of mouth relationships where people come to me. He's one of like my word of mouth clients. Like when he told me that, and like he just found my social media page randomly through his TikTok, it was dope and stuff, and him sharing that. So like you said, man, it's about like leading by example, and I really try to, just out of transparency, right? Like I really try to do that now more than ever, because like when I play sports, with me having so much attention on me, like when I was younger and stuff and being able to go to college, I was a little bit more like, I'm the man, like I'm gonna do my thing, right? Like I'm not really going to like, even if y'all slacking off, like I'm gonna do my thing, right? Like, and when it comes to like, that's a football, like in the football world is what I'm referring to. And I feel like the best like leaders that I had, like my best friend, Jalen Russ, he's a trainer too. Jalen Russell, he's a trainer too as well. But like that was one of the big. He was our captain of our football team at Southern Utah. One of the main characteristics I liked about him is that he always led by example. He always did the right thing. Like always made sure that like he was picking the next man up and stuff like that. And I wasn't really that guy. I was more of like the big name. Like it was just like, okay, this guy's coming to our school. Right. Like I just did my own thing. So like now I try to do more of like, no, I'm going to put the work in. Like, I'm going to do the extra hours. Like, if I need to do the extra hours, I'm going to do the push-ups. I'm going to, like, when no one's looking and stuff like that, man, like, Dude, if I had a camera around me for every single thing that like I was doing on a day-to-day basis, like I could probably create a documentary. I'm sure a lot of people can, but I could probably create a good documentary about my life because like I do so much stuff on a day-to-day basis, dude, that I don't even like put on social media. But when I get an opportunity to put stuff on social media, like I try to put it out there. Like, so I have a love-hate relationship with social media too, by the way, because like, bro, like I think people on there, everybone's on there trying to do like stuff. And like, I used to try to like push with the content. But now like, I'm just trying to take it like slowly and stuff like that, and like put it out there and everything. But people,
you don't have to overdo anything.
Yeah,
you know
bro.
What, I mean? And what you've said, you know, is what I believe. How I've interpreted what you just explained is you're creating culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's a culture of selflessness rather than selfishness, right? I've been a selfish athlete before.
I think a lot of us.
I think most athletes are selfish. That's why you need a good coaching staff to create culture, right? And that's what being a good trainer is. You're like the coaching staff, but you're creating a culture that is inviting and supportive. And when you create that, but you also live it, that's where success comes in training. And that's what empowers others. And that's something that you do really well. And you get results for your clients because you empower them. But you empower them through your actions, which is what you know I look up to a lot about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro.
Let's talk about running, bro.
Yeah, let's do it.
So,
let's do it.
For those that don't know, Greg's lost, was it 60 pounds?
Yeah, 60 pounds
over the last year.
Yeah.
Not
last year. Not to correct you. Not the last year. So I lost 60 pounds since it has been through like 2 to 3 years. So like since I finished with school. So since 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
And you're running distances now, and you have your first race this weekend.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. Why running?
Dude, so I've always been like the sprinter guy, right? Because like with football, like you're like running like just like we're just running a straight line, like got to go 100 yards, like do a sprint and so forth, right? When I came back home, I was getting ready for the police academy. I was doing a lot of like running because I was, you know, that's what I was prepping for and stuff. And I never really had like a structure to it. Like, so once that, like, I realized during that time frame, like how peaceful it was though. Like just being able to just go on a run, like you don't have to like drive to the gym. Like you can literally just walk out your house and then just go like run around the block and get a great sweat. And then like, it's funny because I use my Apple Watch for everything, bro. So like, I remember one day I ran like a mile and I realized I was like, dude, I just burned like as much calories running this mile as I did like when I like would just go to the gym and just knock out like a quick like workout really quick. So I'm like, I'd rather just kind of like start funneling in this running as much as possible because like it's just a little bit more convenient, right? So
you can do it anywhere.
Exactly, bro. So I would run, like I said, I would run like the farthest I had ran up until this year was 3 miles. Like that was the farthest I ever ran. Consistent, like on a consistent basis. And then coming into I met you actually. So I had met you and then we were talking about running. I would see your Instagram story and stuff and like see like you posting your running and stuff. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to like start like actually picking up running a little bit more, like and start doing it. So like you are one of the people that inspired me like with the running stuff. And like I remember we had a conversation, you talk about like how over time, like you just got like just build it up. Like you just built it up. So I was going through a little bit of a phase of like, okay, I was training, the training's going good, everything, but I was kind of starting to miss like the competing aspect, like miss like actually like working out for a reason. Like I was just like working out. Like I was just like consistently like work out obviously and stuff, but like actually having a reason behind it because
like's a little more of a fire.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Cause at this point, like I've lost the weight. Like for a while, like it was like, okay, I'm working out to lose the weight. Now it's like, okay, what am I working out for now? As I mentioned, my best friend, Jalen, he was competing. He was getting ready for a bodybuilding show at the time. But my whole thing was like, bro, I was not trying to do bodybuilding because like it would have took away the athletic aspect that I like of my training. Like I like doing plyometrics, the jumping and, you know, the sprinting and all that good jazz too. So I'm like, you know what? Like maybe I'll give running a shot. Like, let me see running. So I hired a coach. I listened to a podcast and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I hired a coach and then I started to pick it up like that he's really helped me out, like being able to just map out like intervals and like with sprinting and stuff and like distances and stuff. And then like now, dude, it's just like I plan on like continuing to have a coach, even though like I'm pretty much I know a lot about running now. Because just having a coach, I think coaches need coaches, right? Holding each other
Good to bounce
accountable.
ideas.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, man, like I just picked it up and then like the rest has been history. So I got my first race on Saturday, which would be dope. I told myself what I want to do is I want to start like small because I want to be able to like, I don't want to just jump into it and just be like, I'm just going to run a marathon because it's just like, no, I want this to be like something that is sustained for my lifetime. So plan is I want to try to get 2 5Ks done this year and then I'll start ramping it up next year. Hopefully, maybe marathon next year. If not, the year after that, and then we'll do it like that. So,
hey, did you see High Rocks is coming to Vegas?
I did see High Rocks is coming to Vegas.
Think about it. Think about it. It's fun. It's like 8K total, so it's like 5 miles.
Okay.
But like, there's the events in between. You'd be good at it too because like you could push the weight.
Yeah.
How do your legs respond to the running?
So they respond well. And it's I always get that question, like even when I went back to playing football, right? Like people would always ask me, like, you know, how do your legs feel like with everything and stuff like that? I think I do a pretty good job. Can always be better of recovery, right? Like stretching and stuff, and like just taking care of my body. I'm one of those people where too, like if I'm not feeling it, like when it comes to like running and working out and stuff like that, like if I feel like I'm sore, like I'm not going to force myself to go to the gym because like I've picked up like just through the years, right? Like it starts in the kitchen, like the nutrition and stuff like that. So like if I don't go to the gym, then nutritional wise, like I'm going to be like on my nutrition. Like I'm on my nutrition all the time. I'm really going to be on my nutrition that day and stuff.
Pick it up and elsewhere.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So like if I take a day off from the gym, like that's fine for me. Like as long as I get anywhere between like 4 to 5 workouts done a week. And then I average anywhere between like 2 to 3 runs, like right now, just based upon how coach has a program. My legs respond really well. I think even more like I used to have a hip issue that I would pay attention to a lot, like when I was like running and stuff. And that didn't come from running, it just came from like my surgery and stuff. But I think my body has just done a really good job of just adapting, like continuing to do the stretch, continue to keep doing like the maintenance work and stuff, stabilizing my core and doing all those good jazz. And it's really allowed for me to be able to just get like consistent with the running, and it has helped me out tremendously. So now, man, like I always like I'd run like I can run 5 miles like easily. The farthest I've ever done is 7. And then it just continues to keep building and stuff like that from there. And then like I'm 250 like right now. I just came back from Hawaii, so I added like a cool like 4 to 5 pounds, bro. But before going to Hawaii, I was 245. So I sit at like 250 like right now. And then that's probably what I'll run race. I'll probably be like 248 wake up on Saturday. So I'll probably run at that race.
That's amazing, man.
So I'm still pretty big. Like, and I can run a sub. My goal is I want to be underneath the 30-minute mark, but I have a feeling, I have a feeling that like, bro, I'm going to run like anywhere between like probably like a sub 8 mile, like 8 minute a mile on Saturday. Go. So I just have a feeling. So it's mental, bro.
Yeah, it too, and it's competition.
Exactly.
That's amazing, man. And dude, good luck on Saturday. I'm definitely going to be watching for it.
Thank you.
We've done an hour already.
Oh, have we, man?
Yeah, it's already been an hour. We're gonna have to do it again, man. Yes. And I just kind of want to touch on your as we close. I just want to touch on your business as well, because anyone who sees you that is interested in you, that is just like inspired by your story. You've got a great personal training program that you run out of the Strip Barbell, as well here in Vegas. So thank you so much for being here, bro. I really appreciate you. Thanks for telling me the whole story too. I feel like I know you a lot better now. And, it's been a pleasure to have you, and it's a pleasure to call you a friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
As well.
Absolutely.
So, all right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in today. Check out Greg. Give him a follow. If you'd like to check him out at the Strip Barbell as well, he's there daily. Again, go to Well-Rounded Individual on YouTube and subscribe. I'm going to be adding everything also to Spotify this week. I got the first one on Spotify and then I stopped doing it. So I'm going to add all 6 episodes to Spotify. I'll be pushing that out. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube. That's how I'm able to get more people, and it's how this show is eventually going to grow. So again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.